So Miriam, is ESG simply the next CSR? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'll begin by giving CSR a lot of credit because they were the forerunner for this work, right? The disruption for CSR was the financial crisis. And when the financial crisis hit, companies were very focused on how do we lower our costs, how do we take resources out of the system so that we can just survive, not even thrive, right? So I think that ESG also used the learnings from CSR to make the progress, to accelerate progress to the point where we are today.
Well, perhaps, CSR was just a standardized way of where we're heading as you think about what the impact on the world is with ESG and how it impacts our lives. Speaking about the S in ESG social, Armando, can you explain the numerous real world implications that are at stake for brands in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think that's the dilemma that we find ourselves in from a marketing perspective, is that, we have been marketing to a particular paradigm that's a 50-year-old paradigm. We've been marketing forever to the baby boomers. Only in the last few years have we've kind of shifted that mindset a little bit and kind of focus on the millennials. When you think that 100 million Americans identify as being non-white, that should send shockwaves through corporate America and Madison Avenue, because you can't continue to market the same way we've been marketing. The new general market today is a multicultural market, and that's not just me evangelizing this. The US Census has said this, the numbers are there. So we should be looking at the nuances and broadening our horizon a little bit to understand where is the next opportunity in the marketplace, and how do we personalize that message to that opportunity as opposed to that standard way that we've been doing it for the last 50 years.
Now, Fernando, why is ESG and DEI, why is it a matter of long-term sustainability for an organization's strategic plan?
I think every strategy delivers value, right? In today's world, is not just about delivering value to shareholders, but to stakeholders. Let me give you an example, and this came out of the Harvard Business Review. In 2007, Nestle knew that they had to reduce the amount of sugar, the amount of salt in some of their category products. They invested about $1 billion in 2007. Today, that category is one of the fastest growing categories, $14 billion in sales.
Wow.
So the point here is that ESG has to be part of the strategy because it adds value. It's a value creation part of the strategy.
So let's talk more about community, Angela. Why is community outreach such a critical component of your DE&I strategy in its efforts to, let me say this slowly, accelerate preventative care?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's important to listen to the community. It is what the community needs that we need to hear, focus on, and provide. It's not about what City of Hope wants to give the community. It's what's the community needing from City of Hope. We leverage a community outreach arm, a community benefit arm. We partner with community leaders from an advisory board perspective and listen. That is job number one before we start going out thinking that we can solve the problems in that area.
Yeah, it's very interesting because even in media and entertainment, right, to that extent, locally, one of the strong recommendations is almost every one of our duopolies, wherever there's a Telemundo station and an NBC station, they have coalitions of community leaders from every aspect of there. And believe me, we hear it from the community. In some cases, there are 50, 60, 100 people that are part of this community leadership that constantly our editorial team meets with them. We work with them because, again, as we are developing these shows, as we are developing these films, as we are developing brand standards of how we cover the news, it is equally important that as we communicate that out to the community, there's transparency, right? There's vulnerability as well, because look, we're gonna mess up sometimes. And we have to be able to go to that community and say, absolutely, we messed up, right?
Just quickly, Miriam, what is the role of the DE&I executive to address board diversity?
I think it starts with a board diversity policy and making sure that you've already outlined your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to the dimensions, the full array of dimensions of diversity that would complete the composition of your board. I think it's just that simple and just that clear. And I think that there are corporations that hire for diversity, and I think it's an opportunity to improve and to build upon what it is you're doing, because that is a good step. But we also have to retain for diversity so that we could get the goodness that I believe that this person is speaking to, that we need from having both a diverse workforce and an inclusive culture.
I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I for a long time have been arguing that we will not solve diversity and inclusion at a corporate level until we recognize that it's not a cost center, but it's a profit center.
That's right.
So part of the problem too is there is a lot of unconscious bias when it comes down to especially inclusion, right? Now, when it comes down to the diversity piece, I feel organizations are too focused on that scorecard as opposed to on the real strategy that, like I said before, is what delivers value. We're not there yet, to your point, as it relates to, the value creation, but I think there is really good, strong steps being taken into making sure that, diversity and inclusion and ESG are part of the value proposition that sits on the profit line as opposed to on the cost line.